The Birth of Venus by Sandra Botticelli. So this is a photo of the Birth of Venus. It was made by Sandra Botticelli in 1484 to 1486. So this is chapter 1. Introduction. Sandra Botticelli's Birth of Venus is a 2D painting and an important work of art that uses design qualities like line, color, and contrast to express emotion and tell the story of Venus. So this painting can be evaluated with several different philosophies, including contextual, formal, and expressive theories. Chapter 2. So here are the formal qualities. Some of the materials used, it was mainly made with tempera paint on a blank canvas. And if you don't know, tempera paint is regular paint that has been mixed together with animal fat and egg whites to create a different type of texture. It wasn't very common during this time, but I guess Sandra enjoyed it. And he used it and it turned out really great. The dimensions of it are 172.5 times 278.5 centimeters, which roughly estimates to about 6 by 9 feet. And that makes it one of the biggest paintings that were made during this time. So it is a lot bigger than it seems. The Birth of Venus, it's objective art. It's mainly representational. It has a meaning. It's not like other ones where it's just a picture of nothing. It has a meaning. It illustrates Venus rising from the sea, and it's more than just a collection of lines and colors. There's an actual story about it. So what is depicted? This is one of the few Renaissance works of art that did not depict the Christian story of the birth of Venus, but it instead depicted the mythological story of the birth of Venus. So in the photo, Venus stands naked in the giant scallop shell in the center, which basically represents purity and flawlessness of her, since she represents love and lust. And then on the left, you see a wind god blow at her, and you can see it's blowing her hair back, and it's shown by lines. The wind is coming from the god's mouth and not like from the air, like how you would expect it to be. And you can see that with the different lines that you can see radiating from his mouth. So, some facts about it. The Birth of Venus took 2 years to create in the early Renaissance period in Italy. It was actually made for the Medici family as a wedding present. And this is chapter 3. So some of the elements and principles of design used. For elements, we have form, which is shown mostly on Venus's body, and it shows the flow of the creatures and the clothes that are being worn by these people. Not necessarily Venus, since she is nude, but it is also shown on her. And then we have color, which the colors kind of give it like a fantasy feeling. They're very peaceful colors. They're not very bold. It's like light blue and light pink. Very peaceful, very calm. And then we have line. Line is very important in here. It shows, the curvy lines show like the flow of Venus's hair in the wind. And it shows like ripples in the water. And it shows the way the clothes fold on their bodies. And then lastly, for the elements, we have texture. throughout the painting, it is smooth, but obviously going back to what Sandro used, he used tempera paint, which had a little bit of texture, so it looks smooth, and it makes it look kind of real instead of it, being a painting. It looks like it's something that you're actually seeing. And then for the principles, we have directional forces. So for me, the painting is split into 3 different sections with implied lines. So on the left, you'll see the god blowing air and holding a woman. That's one section. And then in the middle, you see Venus herself. She's the center of attention. That's where like your eyes focus on. That also goes with emphasis. And then on the right, you'll see another woman who's in a dress. And how I see it, I think she's trying to clothe Venus. I think she's like in like the motion of trying to do that. Yeah. So for me, my eyes tend to go from the middle, since that's where you look first, or that's where you look the longest at Venus, and she is the focal point. And then you move to the left, for me at least, I move to the left and see the wind god, and then I move to the right and then see the woman. So it's different than the traditional left to right, And that also goes with emphasis, showing that she is the focal point. And then we have negative space. So Venus's body is outlined in black, and it makes her stand out in the background, from the background, sorry. It makes her look like a statue, and it also creates contrast. And then we have composition. The darker like horizon line in the background, it is visible, and the figures, all 3 of them or 4 of them, have no shadow. So it kind of contributes to the overall flatness of the composition. And those are our elements and principles. And then we move on to section 4, the meaning of the birth of Venus. It is not different than the subject. And if we go back, the subject is the birth of Venus, the mythological story of the birth of Venus. And it shows her in the middle being flawless and pure. So it is not different. It represents Venus as a person who represents love and lust. And the title is also significant because it describes like the symbol that civilization at that time was being rebirthed and given a new chance, a new hope. The painting's linear perspective draws the viewer's attention to the focal point, which is Venus, as I talked about before. And I interpret it like looking at Venus is like looking at the typo, I'm sorry, looking your new life in the eyes. And then section 5, we have the philosophies of evaluation. So for formal theory, the focus attention on the composition of the work and how it has been influenced by earlier works, and how it contributes to the painting's significance. So for the birth of Venus, it was influenced by the mythological story of the Roman goddess Venus. So that's how I kind of use that to evaluate it. And then for contextual, it considers art as a product of the culture that it exists in at that time period. So for the birth of Venus, it takes place in the Renaissance era, which was a time of rebirth in Italy. And from the title, it kind of shows how that area is being, reevaluated, rebirthed, and yeah, that's how I do that. That's how I kind of evaluate it in contextual form. And then for expressive, it sort of pays attention to the artist's personality and their background and how they view the world. But in this painting, we don't really see much about the artist itself, like the artist's personality. We don't really see much about Botticelli. So for this, I would say that contextual is the best form of evaluation for this specific painting. And then for chapter 6, we have a conclusion. So, The Birth of Venus by Sandra Botticelli is a 2D painting and an important work of art that uses design elements like line, color, texture, and design principles like emphasis, contrast, and directional forces to express emotion and tell a story of Venus. This is one of the few Renaissance works of art that depicted the mythological story of Venus rather than the Christian story of her birth. And The Birth of Venus is an objective work of art and also representational because it has an actual meaning instead of just a bunch of lines and colors. And you can evaluate this with several different philosophies, including contextual and formal theories. And here is another picture of The Birth of Venus. So after listening to my presentation, maybe you can try to see the painting in a new way. And here are my works cited. Thank you very much.